Okay, good morning, everybody. We are live and welcome to Environmental Social Justice. We have Miss Joy Langford, our environmental,
Morning.
Mr. Joel Vendette, our in-house realtor and expert on anything solar. Trust me on this, he knows more than I do. And of course, our special guest, Wendy Schugar-Martin, out of the great state of Florida, that we were just talking about on our little break beforehand. And Wendy Sugar, I've known for many, many years. We met in the insurance industry of all places. And you now run a company called Greener Business Solutions, a
Yes.
sustainability consulting firm. So tell us about your business, and then I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions.
Okay. So the company is a brainchild from the days that I worked in corporate America. So first of all, let me just say thank you so much for inviting me. I watch just about every week, and I always try to get in on the conversation and type my little questions and comments in because I so enjoy this conversation going on. And you guys are, on the edge of what everyone should be talking about every Wednesday.
Thank you.
So
We love you.
Every Wednesday, people should talk about this. You are correct. Every single Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, 9 a.m.
At least every Wednesday. So thank you very much for inviting me. So my business came out as I worked for corporate clients for 20 plus years. And I wanted to do what I was doing for my last corporate client, which was Ryder, and I helped them implement their natural gas program. So we created an entire program. So what I basically did was I went out on my own to do the exact same thing I was doing for Ryder, but for other organizations, private and public alike. And I had gained so much experience. So I was able to transition that and bring that information to other people. I had made a lot of contacts, obviously, in the industry. So it's been to my clients' advantage. So yes, so I'm out with my own little shingle out there, working around the country, trying to help people convert parts of their business to a greener way of thinking. So whether it's their fleets or their facilities, creating efficiencies, reducing waste, all of these things help the environment and they help their bottom line. So
you're doing full circle ESG, circular economy for companies that don't even know what that, I mean, it is amazing. I talk to a lot of people and people say, well, I don't know what ESG means. What is that? And I'm like, oh, totally cool. It's kind of a new thing, but it's now going to be a requirement. And what you do is you take that burden off of them. And what I love about one of your taglines is a lean and green economy. So you actually, because you're Six Sigma certified, that's it.
Whoa.
So you actually know how the project management, you know how to do it effectively, quickly, cost effectively, which is most important. But
okay, so really quick, sorry to interrupt. Define ESG for people who are watching who don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Environmental social governance. So that is where corporations have to start implementing the thoughts of sustainability. So you have to think about the environment, your people, your employees, where you get your supply chain from, making sure that the manufacturers you use are coming from areas where people are treated fairly and equally. And many, many years, this was greenwashed. And greenwashing means they faked it. They said, yeah, we're doing that, but they really weren't. And the past couple of years, people got busted big time. So now people are taking it seriously. And what's odd is a lot of people said, I've done this for 20 years or 15 years. I'm thinking, so you're the greenwasher.
And I have to say, Wendy Schugar-Martin is, downplaying how good she actually is at getting some of these companies done. I've known her for about 8 years through Wendy, but it just so happens that I know her through the green space. Working, some of the work that she's done for Ryder trucks has been amazing. $20 million contracts with EPA organizations here in the state of California to green trucks, to get CNG gas into trucks, like for large fleets like Ryder. She's done some amazing, amazing things. And that was back in the day when no one was even talking about ESG or even any sort of environmental governance in some of these larger companies. So hats off to her, because I mean, she was implementing programs in state government, at least here in California, all the way from Florida, before anybody was even talking about it. So I'm just so happy to have you here.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the government thing. I mean, with the Biden administration coming in, you must be thrilled with the opportunity.
Yes. How can I politely say that the past 4 years has been so difficult on clients who want to do green business? So under the American Recovery Act that we had way back when, under the Obama administration, they had put all of these great grant opportunities which is exactly what the Biden administration is talking about now, is doing the same exact thing, right? We're going to fill the space with money to help businesses be environmentally sustainable, right? So we want people to transition their businesses away from fossil fuel production, from fossil fuel usage, and create more lean and more efficient, less wasteful enterprises. So that's what the American Recovery Act did. When this is what Joy was talking about, was lucky for us, in 2009, under the American Recovery Act, there was a partnership created between DOE, DOT, CARB in California, the California Air Resources Board, and Ryder was asked to come in and bring a big boatload of money to transition 3 facilities to support the natural gas of these heavy-duty vehicles. And I think we all know heavy-duty vehicles create so much pollution. It was part of the change in the amount of sulfur in diesel fuel, was meant to reduce the amount of emittance. So all of these things have, been working along, but we've sort of been in a pause over the past 4 years. And I'm really excited to hear about some of the conversations that they're having. If you listen to any of the confirmation hearings, especially Pete Buttigieg's last week, he was talking about what he's wanting to do with DOT, which sounds very similar to what had previously been done. So I think it's going to be a very exciting time for my business, or at least I'm hoping.
No, actually, I have a question for you, because it's funny that you were just talking about this, because it was all over the news this morning that they were talking about all the green jobs that they want to put out there. And of course, the biggest pushback is you're going to cut 10,000 jobs immediately. And it's like, how do you overcome, how do I put this delicately, people getting out of their own way to understand that, I know, right, that this has to happen in order to move forward. And it's not about people losing their job, it's about helping them transition into the next phase. So how do you
the Keystone pipeline?
Yeah, that's one of them. But I remember.
Let's clarify the Keystone pipeline. Okay, the 1,100 jobs that were lost, the actual 1,100 jobs that were lost when they shut down the Keystone pipeline. We'll put aside the fact that the pipeline was slated to go through reservation land, right? Land that the United States has said belongs to the sovereign nation of, okay? Forget about that piece of it.
There is
right?
that.
Talk about the green piece. But so the jobs piece was actually 1,100 employees. They are unionized employees, and they're things like welders, pipe fitters, electricians, who can be transitioned to other projects
very easily.
Yes, right. So now the tens of thousands that they were talking about, they were saying 10 to 12,000 in the United States. Yeah. Those were temporary workers only for the construction of the pipeline. They're not for the maintenance of it. They were just for construction of the pipeline. So again, these people are not these skilled laborers, right? They're construction workers, which have a different skill set. They're not, pipe fitters and things like that. But they can easily be transitioned to some of the green infrastructure that we're building, right? So just have a pause. Let's all realign priorities for the country. President Biden is talking about putting in electric charging stations on the highways. He wants to increase our vehicle infrastructure. All of these people can transition very easily to those jobs. And they weren't currently working. They were promised work on the pipeline, but they weren't currently employed.
Yeah, I think I saw a headline this morning that Biden wants to take all government vehicles electric. Like that's one of the big things he wants to do. But I think what I was talking more about was like, I remember when Hillary was running. I know we're not going to talk about her emails. We're going to talk about her actually running for office. And that was one of the biggest issues that she had faced was, talking about the coal plants. And they were like, oh, we need to shut them down. And it's like, and then it was like, and it's like, well, they're going away anyway. So why aren't we working to transition people? So I guess that's my question is how do you talk to people about this to just say these things have to happen and they are going to happen, whether you want to or not? So either you're with us and you're with the evolution and the progress, or you're going to be choosing to be left behind. How do you combat that?
Well, I think that part of that conversation is just we're not eliminating, we are redirecting, right? So I think that if you tell people, a lot of people like to use very inflammatory language to talk about actions that this administration did, even the previous administration did, right? So let's stop using such inflammatory language, right? So we're going to redirect those.
Uh-oh. We lost Miss Wendy.
Oh, no.
No, we lost her in the middle of redirecting those, I'm going to say, thought processes.
But I do love the action shot. I love the action shot.
She's going to hate me for that, let me tell you. But
she might try to rejoin.
I
think picking up on what she's talking about, increasing the conversation, everybody, post COVID is going to have to retool themselves, right? Whether you have a career like we do or you don't, you're going to have to retool yourself. And I think part of it is listening to short stories or short podcasts like our own. Reading up, knowing what's happening, and kind of keeping it together.
Keeping it together is the important. So what she was talking about was the positive reinforcement, positive influence, because the yelling and as we always say, shaming, no blaming, no yelling at people. Every little bit helps, and it's education. I mean, we're not going to cut out petroleum overnight. We have to phase it out. We have to train people that, maybe their entire education was based on the oil industry. Okay. I mean, that's great, and now we're going to teach you how to phase that out into something else and learn new skills as you go. I mean, 20 years ago, I was just a geologist. I didn't know any of this stuff.
Which you have to, hi, man.
You were stuck on a lovely action shot.
I'm sharing that everywhere.
Welcome to Florida. You can't even get, my husband works for AT&T, okay? I have a gig coming into my house and I still can't get decent service. And I don't blame it on AT&T, I blame it on Florida.
But you love where you live.
Some days.
So you're positive reinforcements of trying to get people to change their mind and kind of reset their mind frame of, it's not always negative,
right.
It's a transition.
Right. Yeah. What I was saying was redirect the conversation, right? We're going to redirect resources from a dirty enterprise to a clean enterprise, right? And some of these people don't need retraining, so to speak. They might need some safety training, right? Even when we upgraded the facilities in California to be natural gas compliant, all of our personnel had to go through new safety training, right? So there's new safety training you could go through, but why are we going to perpetuate bringing dirty oil from tar sands through the country, through the United States, that doesn't even get used in the United States? It's all going down to Louisiana, being refined and shipped out. So it's not.
So a lot of people who talk about, America was oil independent, we had our own oil and now it's all gone. Yeah. I'm like, we didn't use that. Yeah. We shipped all of that oil away and imported someone else's oil that was a different kind of oil that burned better in our factory. So the hell are you talking about? We were, it was, anyway, just sometimes.
And I think also redirecting people as far as, job changes, there's a good old boys network, right? Also, and in the lower levels of working at some of these companies, it's a good old boys network, right? you're making $17 an hour on a job. It was great enough for you to be able to support your family with, maybe buy a home in some of the lower income areas. And then you pass that job along. When more openings come up at that factory, you pass it along to your kids, right? So they get involved in the same workforce. So it's like a good old boys network that you don't want to end if you're living in some of these communities. You're scared. You're scared about yourself, your future generations, how things are going to work out for you. So I think we need to kind of get away from that too, and start the education at a level, 18 years old, right before high school, instead of, instead of just, tool shop at high schools, really training them on what the new waves of the future are going to be in the energy sector, so that you feel more confident getting a job.
Yeah.
So you're saying we shouldn't have kids building birdhouses and
They should learn how to build electric vehicles.
Well, adding on to what Joy and Joel both said about education, I love the fact that I had to read a ton of poetry in high school. Great. Am I using it? Not really.
Nah.
Did it really teach me?
Come on, you write a sonnet every day.
I should
I do a haiku.
I have
every
to say,
Thursday.
The British model for way they deal with secondary education is you take some exams to determine what your acuity is for, right? So what you would do best at. And when you take those exams, then you can either go to technical schools to become, work in auto mechanics or platform things like that. And then you have,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll jump in when you're done.
I was just saying that they do it because then they're putting people
it's an aptitude test almost. Yeah, but see, the thing is, we're not. Our society is based upon, and this is going to bring up so many other issues as well.
Okay.
We're too good for these jobs. That's
amen,
kind of
brother.
That's kind of the way that we're raised. I mean, a lot of us.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Please. Please.
You living in your environment,
right?
That might be what you're thinking, okay? But if you go to rural Alabama, okay,
I've got family in those areas. Yeah,
people are still either farming land or doing other odd jobs, right? Their best thing would be if their child would have the opportunity in high school to learn how to be an auto mechanic and could then work on vehicles, right? So your frame of reference, though, and this is part of the conversation that we always have to be having, right?
I think you're actually making a very valid point. I think it's not that, and I don't look down on people for whatever their jobs are.
No.
More power to you. I think as a society, though, I look at kind of where we are, where if you don't have 5,000 or 500,000 followers on Instagram, that's kind of become the new norm. It's like, I just want to be an influencer. And it's like, and I think our priorities have shifted so much to just say, I want to work and travel and just be famous on YouTube and make a ton of money, as opposed to saying, you know what, the people who are actually fixing your house deserve respect as well.
Well,
and I think
you should do some post-COVID. You should probably do a field trip to some of these communities in some of these other in these flyover parts of the country that that they see that comment about, oh, I only want to be an influencer is not even, they're just trying to figure out how to pay the electric bill. They're just trying to figure out food on the table, right? And a crazy man for the past 4 years has told them that he alone can fix it, right? And he didn't do anything for them, right? But he's also told them that the new guy is the devil and is going to destroy him, right? But so we have to everybody has to stop making assumptions about things. We have to bring the temperature down a little bit, because the only way we're going to really make a really great sustainable green economy in the United States is if people in Arkansas, Alabama, all of them who are very reliant on the oil industry today, right? I don't think people realize Mobile, Alabama, also a huge launching off point for fossil fuels. All of these people need to learn that there's some opportunities in another dimension, right?
And I'm not trying to, and so please don't take it that I'm trying to put anything down, because that's really not what it was about. It's about trying to just say that, like, from what I see when I talk to parents or anything like that, it's like I see, you know, and I freely admit I live in Los Angeles. It is a very different world than my family who's in the South, you know, so it is a very different environment that I'm in. But it's just kind of what I'm seeing is, I don't know.
When you live in South Florida, okay, and you see some of the things that go on in other parts of Florida, right? So South Florida is more of like a LA metro area, right? Huge area, right? Between like San Diego and LA, right? Like that's sort of like South Florida. But you go just north of West Palm Beach and the world changes dramatically. People live in trailer homes. And I don't mean like they live in a manufactured home. I mean like they live in a trailer. And you know, the disparity in income is never so when they talk about, like, I can't believe the state of Florida just passed $15 an hour. I don't know if you all know that, but Florida passed $15, well, over 5 years. So we'll get to 15 over 5 years. But like for people who are like picking strawberries in Plant City, who will have to be paid $15 an hour to pick strawberries, who are being paid $8 an hour right now, that is going to make an enormous change on their lives, right? Just the fact that next year they're going to have to be paid, you know, $11 an hour is going to be an enormous change. It might also translate that you and me may have to pay a couple dollars extra for strawberries, right?
Which is fine.
Which is fine, because I would rather people get paid $15 an hour to pick strawberries, which they do, right? And maybe they move up and become the plant manager or whatever. But I would rather pay an extra $1 for a carton of strawberries than have to continue to pay them for food stamps and Medicaid and all of the social welfare programs, right? Teach them to fish. They'll eat for their lifetime. Buy them a fish. They'll eat dinner tonight. Right.
And that's kind of what I was trying to get to, which is just like give everybody the shot to do something. You know, there was actually a comment made, which I think kind of nailed it on the head, which is that we have such an emphasis on going to a 4-year college, get your bachelor's of science degree, get this, as opposed to saying, like you were saying with, you know, the UK system, where it's like, well, go to a trade school, get a job as a mechanic, get things. We don't emphasize that enough for people. The emphasis is always placed upon bigger and bigger and bigger and better, better, which is we should always want for people. But there's different paths to get there. Yeah. You know, and I think, and like you said, when there's the $15 an hour and you're able to transfer people into a quality of life that allows them to take care of their family, put a roof over their head, and not stress that, like, I can't afford a carton of milk this month. This is the problem that we've gotten. And I think that's kind of, we're going to go full circle now. This comes all back to what we were talking about for transferring people into the clean energy. They're so used to, this is all I know. Yes. And it's the fear of moving forward. And that's kind of what I think we face as far as the entire going green. I'm so sick of that phrase, going green, or the word pivot. I hate both of those right now. But as far as like transferring into, just kind of like morphing into the future, it's an evolutionary process. And you can fight it as much as you want, but it's going to happen. You know, and I think that's the part of getting people on board with.
Okay, if we get there today or get there tomorrow, but we're getting there.
Exactly.
The rest of the world is pretty much already there. We're a little behind.
Oh no, we're way behind. We're way behind. We took a 4-year nap. So let's go back to the pipeline.
I did not sleep for 4 years. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't sleep for 4 years. I mean, our green economy was asleep for 4 years. No, I did not sleep. I haven't slept so well since January 20th. I can't begin.
Amen.
So, well, except for the puppy in the house, which doesn't help me sleep. But so those pipe fitters, those electricians, all of those jobs are in high demand in the green energy market, because I'm installing solar panels, I'm putting up windmills, I'm doing hydroelectric. All of these things are these people. I need you. The problem is a lot of them are just not in the places that we need them to be, right? So there will be this additional shift. I think that you're also going to start to see some migration like we've had in different industrial revolution periods. But, quite frankly, Kansas, Iowa. They all are, these people, the opportunities are going to be there, and we should be training them, starting them in high school. We should. We should.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that high school and, going back to trade schools, though, Mike Rowe's been talking about that for a decade, that four-year colleges are not for everybody. I think we've all been in a class where we're next to somebody who's like, you don't, I know your parents made you be here, but you don't want to be here. And you're actually really skilled artist. I mean, I knew a guy in one of my geology classes, amazing artist, woodworking, and his parents kind of forced him into the university route. And he didn't graduate. He thought he did, but he called about why the tube that he got at graduation was empty. And it turns out that he flunked a couple classes and he didn't realize it. And I was helping out work. The only reason I know this, I was helping out working in the office, and I answered the phone and I was like, oh shit. But it's, he would have been heads and tails above all of us if he would have followed his dream. And I think it's important that that's encouraged.
It's a society thing that we have to address, because that's really the only way that we can move forward, is saying that not everybody is meant to be a doctor. Not everybody is meant to be a lawyer. Not everybody is meant to be Instagram famous. It's just kind of like there are different paths to life, and we need everybody in these different paths in order for our society, to work. We need people to be there, and it's okay. It's perfectly fine. So you've got to pay people and treat them right. And
those are things that we are working on at the legislative level as well in the state of California. Autumn Burke is definitely on it. We've put together a couple of bills on workforce development, as well as working with the refineries to be able to make transitions as well as the years go by. So, it is being thought about, and we all understand that four-year universities are not for everybody, but, we got to get the word out there.
Absolutely. I love what Autumn's been doing.
Well, that's education though, right? And education, like, that's explaining to people that if you go to a trade school and you become, a master carpenter, if you become a master pipe fitter, if you become a master welder, you could be making six figures, right? There's no missed opportunity for you. You're going to be in very high demand. I don't think that message isn't getting to them. In that way. So that education piece of explaining to people of what the opportunity is, and if you like working with your hands, right? If you like the touch and feel of wood, of metal, of those kinds of things, right? People who are artists, right? They're tactile people. Those kinds of things are very exciting to them. We should be encouraging them. We should be giving them scholarships. There should be grant opportunities. Pell Grants helps people come out of poverty to go to college. Why can't the Pell Grant also help them go to technical schools?
It should.
Exactly. And a little known secret that the unions don't want you to know, there's some very, very high paid jobs at all of the ports. I mean, they're making as much as doctors. Working some of that heavy machinery that comes in at the ports. So with benefit, they're huge jobs. They don't want you to know about those, and they don't want us to develop other things, but to get the word out there to people. But don't sleep on some of those jobs. A 4-year degree or a master's degree is not always the answer.
No, it's the hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that you're going to accrue for it. It's like, there are so many issues with our education system. It's not even funny.
I don't get that, but I am going to say we are at 9:30. So our 20-minute conversation, Wendy, you owned this.
I've inspired all of this.
Oh, Wendy will be back. Don't worry, Wendy Schugar-Martin will be back for sure.
That was awesome.
And we really want to keep you updated on what you're doing. So please tell our dear audience how they can find you and hire you, because you're damn good at what you do.
Thank you. You can find me at www.thegreenerbusiness.com. It's thegreenerbusiness.com. We're also on Twitter, The Greener Biz, BIZ, Greener Biz. And you can email me at wendy@thegreenerbusiness.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you about any projects, or if you just want an idea about what we could possibly do to help you green your business. We can just have a conversation. First consultation is always free.
And you're on LinkedIn. Plug your
Oh,
LinkedIn.
I am on LinkedIn. Yes. LinkedIn too. Wendy Schugar-Martin. Anyway, you can find me everywhere. Google me, you'll find me.
Yep, easily found. Well, thank you, Wendy. It was great to
Thank
see
you.
you. And we will be doing field trips. Before COVID hit, we had actually planned some. Happens.
Yeah, right.
So we will be heading out into the field, and you'll be maybe seeing me in person. I'm so sorry. So thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.